An American soldier who crossed into North Korea in an apparent defection was facing disciplinary action with the U.S. military. Now, the Army says Private Travis King had just been released from a South Korean prison where he was held on assault charges. King was set to return to Fort Bliss, Texas, to face further disciplinary actions. When he left the airport, somehow made it onto a tour of a Korean border village and then ran across the demilitarized zone into the north. We're now joined by retired Army Special Forces Colonel David Maxwell, senior fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Colonel, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You spent a considerable amount of time in South Korea and along the DMZ, right? I mean, how was it? My question to you, how was it that he was taken to the airport to be sent back to the United States after serving time for assault, make it as far as customs, and then leave the airport and cross into North Korean territory? How did it happen, and are you surprised?
Yes, I am surprised, although I imagine that he probably did not get through all of immigration at Incheon Airport, and he probably was able to flee. Of course, once you start entering that process, I'm sure that his escorts, left the area, and the way the airport is, there are other ways to exit. So I don't think it was probably too difficult for him to escape. But getting on a tour, there are many tours, and he was able to join that. And it is likely he did it fast enough before it was learned that he had actually gone AWOL, absent without leave, and was not authorized to be there. And so really just the quickness of his actions and the slow bureaucracy to catch up likely allowed him to get on this tour.
Yeah, and I know we all have so many questions left about how this happened, how he's doing now. But I thought that our White House columnist over at The Hill put it well when he wrote, facing U.S. military disciplinary charges and trying to evade them by fleeing to North Korea is quite the frying pan to fire move. I mean, do you see this kind of behavior often from soldiers who are in this kind of trouble?
The last time this happened that I recall was 1982, when Private First Class John White actually crossed the demilitarized zone outside of Panmunjom and JSA. He took some equipment and documents with him, and he defected. He was a disgruntled soldier, and things did not turn out well for him. And so we should be concerned with the future of this young private as well.
Yeah, and speaking of the future, you bring me to my next question. And he now joins a handful of American soldiers who have crossed into North Korea, as you so mentioned. Do you know anything about their lives or conditions there, particularly if King is not brought back to the United States? I mean, what is he living in right now?
Well, he's obviously, in a very controlled environment. He's likely being interrogated. They're trying to learn his value, the information that he can provide. And I imagine that the priority will be to exploit him for propaganda purposes. We should look for a statement by him, perhaps denouncing his leadership, even to the extreme of denouncing America. If they can coerce him or co-opt him into doing that, we will likely see that. But once his propaganda value is used up, then he could be used for other things. And Americans in the past have been used to teach English, which is a euphemism to help prepare North Korean spies to operate in the U.S. and the West. And in PFC White's case, after a couple of years, he drowned in a swimming accident. Yeah. And so, if there's no more value to him, we could see bad things happen to Private King.
Yeah, and I know you told us this is much different when they take a missionary or a student. I mean, they could be using him to train soldiers on U.S. military intel, customs language, the gamut. I mean, who knows? Colonel David Maxwell, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.